Hey everyone! So I recently read Steelheart by Brandon Sanderson and I needed to make a video on how I felt about it. If you don't know who I am, then good. All you need to know is that my name is Lillian and I am just your regular booktuber next door, and I'm totally not actually a multiple Grammy-winning famous pop star from New York. I will be giving a spoiler-free and spoilery review of this book, and there are timestamps in the description box below if you want to avoid any spoilers or skip some parts. If you stick around to the end, I'll also be showing some of my favorite quotes from the book. Anyways, on to the review. So Steelheart is a YA science fiction novel about David Charleston, a teenager who was just a child when this giant red star appeared in the sky called Calamity. Shortly after the star appeared, people all over the world started developing superpowers and are now called epics. However, many of these epics soon started vying for power, killing innocent humans and using their powers for evil. David is 8 when the bank his father and he are at is visited by one such evil epic, called Death Point, when the most famous and most powerful epic in the world, called Steelheart, comes to the same bank to destroy the evil epic. At first, it looks like Steelheart is there to save everybody, but then he says to Death Point, and I quote, "Give me your loyalty or die," proceeding to call himself the Emperor of Chicago. David's father, who always believed that good epics would emerge to help the people, notices Death Point trying to hurt Steelheart and shoots him. However, the bullet accidentally slightly scrapes Steelheart, causing him to bleed, but Steelheart isn't supposed to be able to get hurt. Steelheart then kills David's father and then proceeds to kill everyone else in the bank. However, David manages to escape. By the way, this is all still just the prologue, so if you're looking for an action-filled book, this is definitely for you. I managed to finish this book in 2 days because it was that good, but I would still rate it 3.5 stars because while it was amazing, I still don't think this is Sanderson's best YA series, which is a title that I would give to the Skyward series. Anyways, we follow David throughout his journey to exact vengeance on Steelheart for killing his father in cold blood. And, in typical Sanderson fashion, we also get to explore whether vengeance is the correct path that one should head down when dealt a difficult hand. I personally love Sanderson's more, not really philosophical, but I love when he discusses the morality of certain actions, which he did really well in the Mistborn series, and you do see that in this book as well, but not as much, which makes sense since 1. David is a teenager, so I don't know how in-depth he's going to go regarding philosophizing about his actions, and 2. This isn't a high fantasy novel, and it actually takes place in the modern world. David spends his formative years collecting information on the epics in order to join an anti-epic coalition of sorts called the Reckoners, which is why the series is called the Reckoners Trilogy. The reason that David collects information is because each epic has a weakness that is unique to them, but for obvious reasons, they hide their weaknesses from the public. David makes it his life mission to find the weakness of Steelheart, his only clue, of course, being the events of the past and his father managing to hurt Steelheart before getting murdered. So let me talk about what I liked about the book first. For me, Sanderson is a very unique author because of his magic systems, or what logic he has in place for the powers that the epics develop after Calamity. This book is no exception, and reminds me slightly of My Hero Academia in the sense that there are a ton of people with different powers and different weaknesses, except if My Hero Academia was about training villains. This book is also fast-paced, which is good if you're like me and hate flowery and descriptive exposition. I personally hate it when the author just gives paragraphs and paragraphs of a setting and how it looks like, and I would rather that all be conveyed through a character's actions or feelings, and Sanderson tends to stick with an action narrative throughout the entire novel. I also really like that Sanderson gives us all the clues we would need to figure out the ending or the twist of this book, and it's still unpredictable enough that I couldn't guess it, which is actually really frustrating until the ending happened, but it was just so cool that I didn't care. Unfortunately, there were quite some things that I did not like about the book. For starters, I thought that there were some inconsistencies with the magic system, which wasn't really a magic system because it consisted of epics having superpowers, but Sanderson is known for these complicated magic systems with rules that he doesn't deviate from, and I was expecting to see something similar to that in this book, or at least some rules that would explain how the epics' powers worked, or the logic behind their weaknesses. While reading, I thought that their weaknesses were kind of random, and I don't know if this is going to be addressed in the future books. I also had a few issues with David. First off, in the book, David kind of starts to fall in love with Megan, who is this girl in the Reckoners group, and he starts to fall in love with her mainly because she's attractive, which is fine. Having a crush on a woman who is described to be attractive and hot is okay, but he openly objectifies her in multiple situations, and in every interaction we get with both of them, he describes her as beautiful or hot. And based off of previous characters Sanderson has created and their respective relationships, I was not expecting David to develop such strong feelings for Megan just based off of how she looks. Megan is this very capable and strong woman, and it was just weird seeing David, who is this nerd and very socially awkward guy who constantly searches for unique metaphors to throw in during conversations that he's having, which is like a quirk of his, I guess, just objectify Megan and then have their interactions justify the strength of his feelings for her, especially when we, the reader, know nothing about her, really. For me, it made him look like he was a little shallow.
Wait, Why did you say that like that? Also, I'm obviously not a teenage boy, but I think I know enough about society to say that David does not act or have normal conversations like a typical teenage boy who saw his dad killed right in front of him and thinks that having a few conversations with an attractive woman, most of which consist of her being really cold or icy back to him, equates to him starting to fall in love with her. It certainly wasn't the best romance, but it wasn't a bad romance either. Where'd those glasses come from? I will say, I really appreciated Sanderson giving everyone normal names and not turning them into YA names that you would usually see. David and Megan are just spelled like this, and not like this, or this. Overall, I thought the book was really interesting and that the mystery of what Steelheart's weakness was intriguing enough to keep me reading. I predicted a few aspects of the story that were revealed at the very end, but it was still a very enjoyable novel. This is the first time, though, that I didn't really like the main character of one of Sanderson's books. I really liked Vin and Mistborn, and I really liked Ciri and Warbreaker. Loved Vivina even more. But I just can't seem to relate to David. I do plan on finishing the series, though, just because it's Brandon Sanderson, and he could announce that he's writing a crossover novel between Twilight and 50 Shades of Grey, and I would still be first in line at the bookstore to get it. Okay, so I think that this is going to be the end of the spoiler-free section of this video, so if you want to avoid spoilers and read the book for yourself, which I do recommend, I will see you guys in the next video. For everyone else who has read the book, or just like spoilers I guess, keep on watching. Okay, so I want to talk about a few things. As someone who hasn't finished the next book in the trilogy, which is called Firefight yet, I already knew the name of the sequel of the book, so I had a couple of running theories about what Steelheart's weakness was, or what the twist at the end was going to be, and boy was I wrong. So I thought at first, oh, obviously Steelheart's weakness is that he can only be killed if you hit him without actually making him the target. Basically, friendly fire would kill him. And I thought, wow, this is it. This is the Brandon Sanderson book where I finally figured out the twist at the end on my own. You can't beat me all the time, Sanderson. I am victorious. Hey, David suspects the same theory as you on page 261. If the main character of the YA book you're reading has the same theory as you about the twist at the end, that definitely means you figured it out, right? Crap. Yeah, so that theory was a bust. I did predict that something was up with Megan, though, which wasn't hard to suspect given the fact that when David and her were climbing the elevator shaft, the guards couldn't see them when they looked down. I didn't think the professor would be an epic, though. If I'm being honest, I think that Sanderson should have put in more clues to the professor being an epic. I think that there were definitely enough clues regarding Megan being Firefight, but I just thought that Prof was just this smart old dude. I don't know, maybe he just has a really good poker face. Seriously, how are you doing that? Reading the novel, I imagined him as that one dude from Avatar who's super buff. I did imagine him as the small kind of nerdy dude in the beginning, similar to Dr. Doofenshmirtz, but then there's that one scene where he just took out a small squadron of the enforcement in Chicago, and he was like this one-man army, hence the guy from Avatar. TBH, I didn't really like the twist at the end, which while it was surprising, I thought that making Steelheart's weakness that he could only be killed by something or someone that he didn't fear was kind of not that climactic as it was. But I did think that the way David got Steelheart to kill himself was genius. I am still very confused as to the system that Sanderson is using for which epic gets what powers, because epics can have multiple powers, but Prof has 3 powers, I think, but other epics only have 1 or 2 powers. And the weaknesses don't seem to have any rhyme or reason to them either. But I'm holding out hope for the next book that more logic will be revealed into how the epics were created and how their powers and weaknesses formed. Anyways, I think that's all I have for this review. I will definitely be reading the next book and hopefully finishing the trilogy as soon as the last book becomes available at the library. Thanks for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe if you want and leave a comment down below. Keep watching if you want to see some of my favorite quotes from the book. Until the next video, bye guys!